The U.S. dollar's status as the preeminent reserve currency is under attack. The Chinese and Russians are the first major powers to announce they will dump the dollar in favor of their own currencies when they do business with each other. My next guest is not surprised. He says it only gets worse from here. Peter Schiff is president of Euro-Pacific Capital and host of his own daily radio show at schiffradio.com. Peter, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
What are they doing? What are they trying to do, and what are they literally doing when they don't use the dollar as the standard?
Well, what they're trying to do is move away from invoicing each other in dollars. You know, many global transactions that don't involve the United States take place in dollars. So, for example, if Russia is going to sell oil to the Chinese,
right,
it invoices them in dollars, not in rubles or in RMB, and vice versa. If the Chinese are going to sell textiles to the Russians, again, they're using dollars. And what this shows is they're breaking away from using the dollar as an international currency of invoice, and instead they're going to trade in their own currencies.
Okay, how does that harm you or me or the federal government or the average folks at home that the Chinese and the Russians are using yuan and rubles instead of dollars?
Well, if this is a trend, and even these are two big countries on their own,
right,
but one of the reasons, or probably the main reason, that Americans are able to live beyond our means, the reason we can consume so many products that we don't produce, is because we can print money to pay for them. Normally, countries have to export to pay for their imports. You have to make real things.
Right.
But since there's so much demand for dollars all around the world, because people use them to trade with one another, they're willing to accept our dollars, even though that we don't have the products to export, because they use them in these types of transactions. But as the world moves away from dollars, the demand for dollars diminishes worldwide, and so our ability to import consumer goods at low prices goes away.
All right, why would the Chinese and the Russians, from their point of view, do this? How do they gain? What measure of control over us or over their own system do they acquire when they don't use dollars?
Well, it's certainly more efficient, especially in an area where the dollar is being debased. We're doing QE2 and maybe QE3. If the dollar is going to lose value, to constantly have to calculate prices in terms of dollars, prices might be more stable in their own currencies, which are not being debased, so it will bring down costs for them.
Okay, so if the Chinese and the Russians agree to some huge sale of oil in 2009, some fantastic amount of money in dollars, and between the time they agree and the time they actually exchange the oil for the dollars, the value of the dollar goes down.
Right.
Because Ben Bernanke and company has flooded the market with cash. What happens to the value of that oil deal? It's worth
well,
less.
exactly. And that's why I think you're going to see a broader scale implementation of this. You know, right now, OPEC, I mean, the OPEC nations still invoice oil globally in dollars. So if somebody, let's say, in Australia wants to buy OPEC's oil, they still pay in U.S. dollars. But at some point, I think OPEC is going to move away, and they're not going to use the dollar. Maybe they'll use the RMB. Maybe they'll use gold. Maybe they'll use the euro. Now, the euro is having some problems right now, which is potentially helping the dollar by taking the focus off of the American problems and putting them on European problems.
All right.
But this is not going to persist.
Before I let you go, in a couple of minutes, we're going to show this cartoon, this wonderful cartoon that you know a great deal about, which demonstrates for anybody with great ease to understand the problem of the Fed flooding the market with cash. Isn't the Fed embarrassed that what it is doing is so obviously contrary to basic economics 101 that even children can laugh at it?
I don't know if they're smart enough to be embarrassed. That's how clueless they are. I mean, the thing is I love about this video, apart from the simplicity of it, is first of all, it points out the fact that the Fed has constantly gotten it wrong. And why are we going to assume that now they've got it right, even though they're just repeating the same mistakes? And it debunks the idea that we need rising prices, that somehow falling consumer prices is some evil that the Fed has to fight off, as if adding a rising cost of living on top of the unemployment situation is going to solve the problem. It's going to compound the problem. What we need are lower prices. People are unemployed. Cheaper goods would help out. Real estate prices are too high. They have to come down. And if the Fed tries to fight that, they just create bigger problems than the ones they think they're trying to solve.
Peter Schiff, thanks very much for joining us. Up next, as Peter just said, a sign that the Federal Reserve has officially become a joke. Literally. You gotta watch this.
So even though the first $2 trillion did not create the jobs or improve the housing market, the Fed decided to do another $600 billion anyway?
Yes.
Who put the Ben Bernanke in charge?